I'm Brian Merritt, I'm VP Customer Success with Trustpilot. To my left is Francis from 451. They are an agency partner of ours, but Francis is really here today as a thought leader in the sentiment analysis space. Say a little.
How's it going, guys? I'm Francis. I'm from 451 Agency. We're headquartered in Boston. We have about 75 folks. We're a creative brand, digital shop. My background is in digital and weirdly chemistry. So we work with these guys and a lot of other folks in the space. So I'm hoping we can have a good conversation about sentiment analysis today.
Cool. Is everyone excited about sentiment analysis?
Yeah.
Yeah? Everyone knows what it is before we start? Okay, good. So a little bit about, no, that's us. And a little bit about Trustpilot. Can that light be taken down, or is that me?
Oh, let me just slide over a little bit.
Yeah.
There we go.
Sorry, everyone. Anyways, so Trustpilot, we're the world's largest online reviews platform. So our mission is to create ever-improving experiences for consumers and companies. So we work with folks like Francis and his team to do that. Sharing is caring, as I say. Sharing builds transparency. But what we do is we use the reviews, this user-generated content, to help companies in a lot of different ways. So there's search benefits to it. There's a social proof that companies are looking for. But really it's about helping to power the sentiment. We collect roughly 1.5 million reviews a month with a database of north of 50 million reviews. That's a lot of content to be analyzed. You know, there's a lot of things. I think, if you think back a few years, it was all about social, right? Mm-hmm. And can you maybe talk about the transition from social to how that path has gone?
Yeah, I know when we were trying to analyze social data back in the day, it's very manual. I mean, it still is to a certain extent, with the advent of AI, and I don't want to spoiler alert anything you're going to say later on, but machine time is part of it, but most everything we did was manual because of sarcasm. So if you're going and looking at just social media posts, not even talking about reviews, we would go in and try to grade them so we could show our clients, brands, whatever. Here's how people are talking about you. And we'd want to see what those things, now we'd have great hashtags and things like that, but what are those themes that were percolating up that we could go back to our brands and say, hey, you guys didn't even know about this one thing. People are using your product in a way you didn't understand, or they really hate this aspect of it, and a lot of people are talking about it, or this thing is really polarizing. So, cut to now when we have machines that can do a lot of the parsing out and, help the humans out a little bit more. That's great. I'm excited.
It really is. And I think, one of the best things that social's done for reviews platforms and for reviews is they've generated fake news. While it might be the bane of our personal existence and our social media feeds, what it's really done is it's elevated the review concept, where consumers are really looking towards reviews and using reviews more and more, rather than just what's posted on the Twitter sphere, grammed out there, Snapchatted to their friends, etc. And you can see here, 60-some-odd% of consumers, of Trustpilot customers are using reviews to improve their service. And 57% are using reviews to improve the decision-making feedback. So it's about taking this in and, like Francis was saying, applying some of these things to it. So I'm really excited today to talk about our new tool, our sentiment analysis tool. So collecting all these reviews and understanding and parsing it out and really being able to take action with those reviews is what's really important. Companies are, as they're collecting this content, what are we doing with it? So you get these great 4- and 5-star reviews, and I say this is the typical example. Shipping was awesome. They had a really good price, but the website was slow. 5 stars. Okay, there's a nugget in there, isn't there?
Yeah.
And at scale, as Francis pointed earlier about the manual work, at scale, that's really hard to do. So leveraging machine learning, leveraging natural language processing, tools like that, we can really start getting here, and you can start seeing behind me here where we can actually take those reviews that mention delivery, that mention price, and you can see how price is underperforming versus delivery. So getting that out to customers and having them use it is a very different space. How are you seeing this trend, or is it?
Yeah, I mean, what we're doing right now, especially with, companies like yours, is we're trying to figure out at scale how we go in and look at those things. The little trends that percolate up. The cool thing now at the shift that has happened is that brands, and how many here work for a brand or a merchant right now? How many people are just Magento coders, hackers? There you go, right there. But we're seeing that brands are starting to listen. So they'll look at trends in their data to say, hey, everything about this whole sales process, salesman, showroom floor, everything was great, but the delivery guys were assholes, or my furniture came damaged or whatever. When those things happen enough, the company can look inward and say, okay, guys, we have to figure out what's happening on the logistics side, figure out how to fix this shipping thing, and that actually has business ramifications for them. So they can actually save money, have less returns, fewer returns, et cetera. So that's the cool thing. One of the coolest things I think is that brands have finally gotten it. It's not just a cool thing on their website to get SEO traffic, which is also cool.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we were working with one of our customers. They have a subscription model. So fundamentally, they operate with a breakage model, is what you want to call it in some ways. So every month they charge their customers, $40 a month for being a member of their services. And as we're looking at this tool, like inherently they knew that they had a problem when they charged someone who didn't want to continue the service and wasn't really using the service, right? That's your Netflix subscription. Not that anyone has ever canceled Netflix in the history of Netflix, I think, but theoretically, if you want, yeah, I don't know what my kids would do without it. But through this, by analyzing the sentiment of their reviews, and what was happening is they knew that they billed their customers on the 5th of the month, and 5th, 6th, 7th of the month, their sentiment and their reviews all about their price dropped, and it was very negative. Again, inherently they knew this. They didn't understand the scope or scale of the problem. And as a result, they were going back, and then it would pick up again, right? Because you had a bunch of customers who subscribed to them, and they were loving the value, they were getting the benefits of the subscription, really enjoying it. So for the rest of the month, it was great, but right around that billing period, and again, inherently they knew this, but now they had data to back it up, which is different than what they had before.
I think you can change your customer service kind of scripts too. So like we have a mattress company that's one of our clients, and it's on the more expensive side, but it's still one that you order. And because it's expensive, there's this window between ordering it and getting it 7 to 9 days later where people are going, it's $900. Should have gotten the Casper. And they started to realize through, like, there was a fall off period of people, basically returning it before it ever got to their house or as soon as it got to their house, where they said, okay, on day 4, we'll now have customer service call them and say, hey guys, you got 2 more days until your mattress comes. Are you so psyched? And that way, it's just one little thing they could do. It's, from a expense standpoint, it's nothing to have your telesales people call and just do a quick check-in. And they started seeing their returns go down to almost nothing, which is amazing.
Yeah. Is anyone in the house using sentiment tools already, or is this kind of virgin territory for most of us? This is pretty much virgin territory for everyone. Yeah. Oh, you are. Okay. Yeah.
Code junkie there.
Yeah. Like junkie. Yeah. So when you start thinking about the real world applications, to your point, you're changing your customer service model. To my point, the subscription company is now contemplating sending out a kind of a, hey, get ready for your next month's subscription. And they're trying to test, how much is that going to cost us actual in revenue? Are we going to benefit in chargebacks? Are we just going to have a better overall customer experience because of this stuff? So really turning this data into actual insights and really analyzing the review content, the UGC content is different, right? It's different when someone's out there just, customers who are angry will find a way to leave you a review. Don't worry about that. How you handle that is what you need to think about. And that's really what the whole sentiment space does. When we think about here, again, we were just talking about this, in the tool here, you can see the heat maps around the star ratings of reviews. And what's really interesting is not just the 5-star reviews that have a negative sentiment, but the 4-star reviews. That's a place you can improve, right? Someone's already given you a 5-star review, and they've given you some content, they've given you some ideas, but take those 4-star reviews and really discerning those nuggets here. You can see this delivery piece here, where you can actually kind of select what sentiments you want to look at, and these tools, and ours is parsing out the different thoughts and ideas. So this concept is delivery, and you can see across the spectrum, they're getting a lot of great reviews. There's a dark green box kind of on this side, but they're also getting a lot of 5-star reviews with negative sentiments. So what are we doing about actioning those? It comes down to also, how are we using these in our marketing? How are we picking up the really quality reviews that we want to use and finding those at scale, right? This company here has probably several thousand reviews. I think it's like 3,200, that light gray box maybe. Yeah, 2,300, I had it backwards. 2,300 reviews, that's not possible for a person to walk through, right? I mean, it is, but it's very expensive. So, in terms of this kind of natural language processing stuff, is this stuff that you guys are working with or seeing companies leveraging?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like companies like yours, Amazon, anyone with robust search and millions of folks going in and leaving reviews and asking questions, and even just on the social media side, just social media monitoring that we do as an agency, there has to be some sort of natural language processor in there that can weed through most of the language, look for keywords, and I know your tool does that too, and start to see themes, and then try to weed out and learn based on things like, because the thing that kills all natural language is sarcasm, because human beings can do that, and it's really tough for machines to get that. You can train a computer to be sarcastic, but it's hard for a computer to pick up sarcasm in natural language. Mm-hmm. So it's that's one of the most difficult hurdles I think right now, and I think companies like Amazon, I know you guys are have that as well. So.
Yeah. One of the early reviews we were looking at as we first started applying the training data sets to our review content. What happens when you get a text that's in all caps? What are you inherently thinking the person is?
They're yelling at me. Yeah.
They're yelling at you, right?
It's usually my wife.
Yeah. So what about, I freaking love this website, they're great.
Yeah.
The machine thought all caps meant they were angry. So it didn't matter that it was awesome, it was an awesome sentiment. So really, taking these tools at scale and training the machine back, say, actually, hold on, all caps doesn't necessarily mean bad. Mm-hmm. All caps could mean good. We actually need to look at the words that are being used. And so, and then this thing, and then the other great thing about sentiment analysis is when you start looking at it, you can use it, especially if you're a seasonal business or you've got any cyclicality to your business. You can use the reviews in the content from the prior year in advance of next year. One of our customers is a tax preparation software company, TaxLayer. They're now looking at their reviews from last tax season in order to get in front of those problems for the next tax season.
Yeah, that's a great idea. And I think one of the things that, just from a pure sales standpoint, like old school sales 101 is objection handling. You try to figure out all the things that your potential customer can say no to, and you go and come up with a messaging argument. And I think telesales, any good telesales organization is going to have that down. They have a script. They have every, if this, then that. If the customer says no to this or that or whatever, they've got that that down. So being able to have, use reviews from last year to say, okay, we killed it until Q4, and then shipping was always late, or there's a lot of breakage or whatever. And I keep using shipping just because we've got a client that is terrible at it. But that's how you can get ahead of it. Like, one, check out your logistics and supply chain. If there are particular things that are coming up, one, you can go into your warehouse, you can go into production, like whatever, and try to make sure those things don't happen anymore. Staff up for Q4, and again, I'm just making this up, but those are all things that, from a business standpoint, you can make adjustments to, flip some levers and turn some dials to make sure those things don't happen anymore, and get in front of it with messaging. And that's where, like me as the selfish marketer, that's gold when you can find out what customers don't like, because one, you can fix it, or you can say maybe they were misinformed about our product, because we don't do that and it doesn't have that attribute or whatever. We can go in and say, hey, you thought we did this, but it's really that. And that's, for me, that's gold.
Yeah, but there's another one too you were talking about, we were catching up earlier, about how companies are actually leveraging this to change their messaging, using the words their customers use, I think.
Yeah, for sure. So there may be that customers start to use a different term for your product, or use like a short term, and I'm totally spacing right now, but if you see that folks are calling, even if it's derogatory, they have a derogatory name for your brand, or a shortened name for your brand, or they're using it in a way you never thought of, that's so cool, because you can go in and say, okay, cool, we can get behind this from social media. If people are talking about it amongst themselves, and we're trying to be really clinical and, I guess, try to keep the brand standards there, it's time to sit down and go, maybe if everyone else calls it this, we can call it that too.
Yeah. Again, we're in a world now where, as much control as brands want to have about their messaging, their ideas, what they do, the reality is the public forums and the public community and the new town square we've created is really helping brands redefine who they are. Trustpilot just went through this ourselves personally. We spent about a year saying, who are we? And who are we? What are people thinking about us? And, for a decade, we were this online reviews platform where you get customer feedback. And then after talking to our customers really in consumers, we really established that no, that's not what people are doing with our tools. They're actually using our tools to create improving experiences, and that's where our new messaging is around. It's not about getting feedback, it's about creating better experiences. One thing I want to highlight, Dashlane is a great example of a customer who's doing this. You know, they've gone through their reviews and they've been highlighting the sentiment, and again, like we were just saying, paying attention to the language that customers are using, a great example of how a company is redefining kind of their marketing efforts around what customers are saying. You know, and you know, this isn't organic. How do you think this translates to paid or some other places maybe?
Same deal, because if they're using specific terminology or they're talking about an unmet need that they have, you can go and especially on paid search, you can go in and lead heavy with that unmet need with a text ad or even with a banner ad for prospecting. So for us, again, any little tidbits like that on the agency side, on search, it's gold to be able to go and put that out into market.
Yep. So yeah, the really cool thing is that this product is actually rolling out now. So it's really exciting. We're talking to lots of customers, and the exciting thing is that now it's giving customers reasons to get more feedback. And you know, in the old days it was, oh, I got some reviews, I can throw on my site, I can put a quote in an article. That's all fun, but I can't do much more with it than that. Now that we have this tool, and I don't want to go back, but you know, when you can action it, it's really driving the review space from what was traditionally marketing oriented into more of an operations role and embedding it in the company and helping the company become a better performance. And I think it's fair to say anytime you can expand your footprint in a company.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I think at this point we're going to turn it back over to you all for a little bit. What are some of your thoughts?
So maybe just show of hands again,
Yeah.
like who uses reviews right now actively on their websites? Just the one person. I can't see everybody up there. There's a hole burned into my optic stems from that light. So there's 3 or 4 up there.
Yep.
Right on. So like, how are you guys, anyone, and just, you don't need to be mic'd up, how are you guys using reviews? Are you using to mine data for your clients? Are you using specifically SEO, or like how are you guys using it? Yeah. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Okay. But are you looking in it to see, are there any common, I guess, issues like with product or whatever, and you try to put that back internal and from an operations standpoint? Mm-hmm. Right on.
Just anyone else in the back up there again? We've got this. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, so right now we don't. We've got some great partners that we work with that aggregate both our content and the Twitter sphere, the Facebook blogs, and you know, all the kind of the omni-channel social space. I'm not sure if I just made that up, but that wording. But we do have partners that do it, and they do aggregate, you know, other content. And I think what's kind of interesting to think about is when you're pulling in content from the outside world. It tends to skew very much towards the negative. People are looking for a reason to vent more often than they're looking for a reason to say thanks. By using a reviews platform and asking for feedback, you're actually getting your promoters out there to give you information. And as valuable as the negative information is, it's almost more important that you have that balance because you need the positive information. Otherwise, A, it's demoralizing to your staff if all they read are negative reviews. But B, you're missing out on half the story.
So do you guys feel like there's more trust in those pun intended, more trust in the ones that you got, that Trustpilot actually asked for, because there's a barrier to entry. I'm not pissed off and polarized, so I'm banging something out onto Twitter. You've asked me for a review, and I go, you know what, cool. You know, what's massive on this, and this part was great, so I'm going to write them. Like, I feel, just anecdotally, that that's a more trustworthy review than just someone, you know, pounding the keyboard on.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and that's not just from us. That's our customers saying that.
Yeah.
That's what they're seeing. But absolutely, when you're soliciting the feedback, you know, it's something like 80% of the feedback you get unsolicited is negative, whereas 80% of the feedback you get when solicited is positive. Now, you're not just looking for the pat on the back, but now with the sentiment analysis tool, you actually dive into that positive feedback and really dissect it to understand it. And when you think about some of our customers who are inviting at scale, like, you know, folks like Thrift Books that has, you know, north of 200,000 reviews, and they're collecting, 2,000 or 3,000 a week.
Wow.
Yeah. And what they're able to leverage that when you invite at scale, kind of like what I was saying earlier, before when you wanted a review, it was for that one quote. Now you actually need it for everything else. So lots of folks didn't raise their hand in reviews. Anyone have any? Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, our sister company in Australia is a customer.
Okay.
And they expose it on the homepage. Every reviewer they come in, no screening of that.
No filter, right on. There's Aussies.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. They use it primarily for as much for internal morale feedback, and they give bonuses based on the scores, and as well as obviously the marketing.
So oddly enough, I actually oversee Australia. Do you mind me asking?
Bronson safety.
Bronson Safety. Okay. I'll talk to them tonight when I talk to my team down there. Cool. Yeah. Absolutely, yeah. I mean, yeah. You go to taxslayer.com. They've got a big carousel sitting on their homepage. You want to leverage this content at key points, and if it's, you know, if you don't have the brand credibility yet, right? It immediately gives you that when someone goes to your homepage. If you have it, you might bury the reviews further on landing pages where you're looking for calls to action and that final proof point. You know, again, pun intended. People who need trust is very important. So we do a lot with, you know, financial services. I'm about to enter my social security number, my address, to ask you for a $200,000 loan for my mortgage. I really want to know that I'm safe. And it's great that I've got that little lock up top that says it was HTTPS. But what else am I doing there? Oh, well, what do you know? 21,000 other people have reviewed this company, and they are generally saying positive things about them. So leveraging them at key points in your conversion funnels is important too. I'm not sure if you have any thoughts about other ways folks are leveraging.
I just thought it was cool that they're getting bonus on it. You should put that in your website, marketing language, like get bonused.
Yeah, no, it's
on awesome reviews. Yeah, right on.
Yeah, we've got some folks in the just out with Quicken. They're leveraging similarly to your point. They're actually using the individual loan officer scores. I think it was Quicken. It might have been someone else, but they're using the individual loan officer scores as actually a way to distribute leads. You give leads, you give the best leads to the best performing loan officers.
Boiler room.
Yeah,
I love it, man.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So it's all kinds of, there's so many different ways you can do it. You know, we've got folks that they start every company all hands with their most recent best positive review and their most recent best negative review. And that way just everyone, they're setting a standard and a tone for the meeting about, hey, here's our problem this week or this month, but here's how great we are, by the way. So there's just so many different ways you can leverage it. We could probably do a 4 or 5 hour session on just that, but that might get boring after a little while. Any other questions or thoughts? Yeah. Yep. Yeah, so absolutely, you know, when there's that disconnect, it can be flagged, and you know, depending on the company, I don't want to speak for what some other folks are doing. I know we've got a very robust internal Q&C team, and you know, when you flag that review and you flag that mismatch, you know, we've almost 15% of our staff, so it's like 60 or 70 people are dedicated to compliance and quality, on top of the tech teams that are working on the AI. So when that is flagged and reported is the way that you can actually get that trickery done. But it requires a company that has a compliance team, and it requires a company that has more than just technology, because at the end of the day, those are going to require people. So if you're not investing in the people side of the house, you're certainly not going to be able to take it to solve that problem. So, yeah. Why are anyone here not using reviews? Maybe why not? What's your hesitation? Never thought about it?
Just they're all crappy and you just don't want to put them on there. I mean, that happens.
I don't work for a person, so but with reading, you guys are Cracker Barrel.
Yeah, cheese. Yeah. Or the restaurant.
They have delicious restaurant from the south,
Yep.
so like it's Cracker Barrel's the jam.
On their website, I was talking with someone a few weeks ago. They have a review. If you purchase a gift card from any of the stores, you can't redeem it online. I was speaking with them and working with somebody in Porter, fraud prevention, and so we can help with something like that. The review was a terrible review, saying, "Look, I'm never shopping at Cracker Barrel because of this issue." And they had it to the credit on the homepage, so you could see it right away as soon as you're just looking at the website. But again, I guess you might want to contact them to put that, because as far as customer loyalty or anything, it was a disaster. And when I asked them if this is an issue, they said, "Look, we have to focus on other things."
Yeah.
So maybe that's what it is. They don't see the connection between this and the book that you said.
Yeah, that's an interesting one, because we see that a lot with companies. They're so focused on their branding. Like, that's obviously just like just a straight up mistake. Someone shouldn't have picked that. But too often we see companies, they want their brandings, they want to use tools to display static reviews, as opposed to an off-the-shelf component that rotates in fresh content. And if you're thinking about using reviews, make sure you've got a name and a date on it. People don't believe it. Even my own mother, when I started working at Trustpilot, she goes, "Oh, so you're the company that writes the reviews?" I'm like, "No." She goes, "I thought all those reviews on Amazon were written by the companies." I go, "No." So this is a generational issue there. Yeah. I'm not sure. To be very candid, I'm not sure. I really believe that we have many competitors. That's not a bullshit answer. That's like, we are the world's largest online platform. We are the world's largest open platform. There are lots of reviews companies out there that aren't open, that don't give you the ability to find consumers, that don't give you, if we had competitors, it would be like the TripAdvisors and Yelps, but we don't do travel. I mean, we do travel, don't get me wrong. We don't do your local bar. We do, but don't get me wrong. What we do is the rest of the internet, so to speak. 250,000 companies use us. We collect over 1 million reviews a month, and that's growing exponentially, 30% year-over-year growth in that volume. And anybody in the world can go to Trustpilot.com, and it's actually a really interesting problem our sales teams have. Because when you go to Trustpilot.com, it's really easy to find one of our customers. It's virtually impossible to buy Trustpilot. There's like a button in the corner that says for companies, and if you click that, then you can go to a page where you can buy Trustpilot. But otherwise, that's why, not to be...
You guys need some UX, man. I know an agency.
Yeah. But I'm not sure I like that. I like us being a search bar. You got an agency? Yeah, we'll talk.
Yeah.
So to be very candid, sure, there's probably some Gartner Magic Quadrant grid that has us, pegged somewhere with some other folks. Bizarre Voice might be a competitor. But again, we really service kind of two different masters. We're about the online reviews. They're more about the syndication aspect of getting those reviews elsewhere. So that would be the closest thing I'd kind of say to a competitor. Yeah, I don't consider Yotpo a competitor. They're a closed platform. They don't really give companies the ability to be transparent. So for that reason, I don't consider them a competitor, even though companies switch from us to them. Companies who are switching to them are interested in more about controlling their messaging rather than being open to what other people are saying about them. So, yeah. What else do you guys have? Right. Yeah. That's awesome.
And I think this segment is really kind of like drilled down, like not what stars, 5 stars, 4 stars, whatever.
Yeah, hopefully it's going to give you guys some deeper insight into what's happening with those 4, 3, 2.
Yeah, we get hundreds, hundreds of reviews a month, and we work hard to solicit them, hard to follow up on them. I mean, it's one of the things that we get a 4-star but yeah,
That's great. That's all. I mean, when I hear those kinds of stories, and I'm lucky in my role, I've got thousands of customers, and I hear a story like that about a company that's leveraging this for the right reasons, because they care about their customers. They want to improve not just their customer experience, but their own internal, how can we make ourselves better? I mean, you could probably have written our new company mission statement. We probably didn't need a year.
well, but it's interesting too, because I mean, for us, it's like we have, at least from my perspective, we have like such a low complaint success rate. Like a lot of places will look at 80%, whatever it is, their complaints would be acceptable.
Yep.
Whereas ours, I mean, it's like 0.5%. So it's like with a tool like this, I guess it could help us really trend the common issues throughout the years, or some that we may have missed.
Yeah, that's the exact intent. Is just that. Is again at scale. When you provide that level of service, it absolutely gets expensive because you've got to staff accordingly. And not that we want to stop you from reaching out and talking to people. We want to find ways for you to do that more efficiently. And so, what?
Find the root issue.
Yeah, find the root issue. Yeah, so you solve that, and then you move on to the next problem, because there's going to be one more tomorrow. And then just touching on your point about Yelp and earlier your question about competitors, one of the best things about Trustpilot is no matter how much you pay us, you can't delete a review. One of the worst things about Trustpilot is that no matter how much you pay us, you can't delete a review. So that's one of the challenges with being an open platform is just that. You can certainly display your 5-star reviews only on your website, but there is a page there where the truth is out there. As our brand managers like to say, the only thing you can't hide nowadays is transparency. And that's really what's out there on the internet. When people are Googling, and I mean, I don't know, we talk a lot about paid and search, but like, what percentage of your customers do you think are getting their traffic just from Google searches? Like, it's
All of them.
right. It's exactly kind of a loaded question there.
Yeah.
As much performance.
100%?
Yeah, exactly. As much performance marketing as you want to do,
Yeah.
in ad spend, you're still getting 80-90% of your traffic from organic, and that's consumers Googling brand plus reviews, your brand name, things like that. And until you want to control that, until you want to take control of that, it's going to be out there, and that's what sentiment analysis does. To your point, is it helps you take control of that. Yeah.
Do you see any difference between applying in B2B versus B2C, or it's really?
It's the same. I think in the B2B space, it's probably a little more challenging because of volume, right? So you need to think about how you're collecting reviews and where you're collecting reviews. In the B2C space, right, you're pinging the customer after the purchase. B2B space, it might be if you're the system integrator, it might be at the time of sale, it might be after phase 1's complete, it might be after kickoff, it might be every support interaction thereafter, right? So there's ways to think about, we talk about reviews, and people, first thing is a product review or a buying experience. But they're really, Google calls them service reviews.
Yeah.
It's about leveraging them in service. I don't know if you've got customers that you work with that think that way, or?
Yeah, I mean, I think
or
that
should.
not as many do that should. Just because they're thinking about their product and they,
Yeah.
their salespeople, and
Yep.
that one segment that they can fire or replace or whatever. But if you think about it as the overall service, like from start to finish, multi-phase, I think it's a harder thing to kind of quantify and apply sentiment to.
Yeah, and I think sentiment analysis, not just from Trustpilot's perspective, but from an industry perspective, is the new NPS. Everyone runs NPS. NPS is great. How do you share your NPS score with anyone but your company? It's great. We put our NPS score on a monitor and show everyone how it's trending over time. That's great. But what you really want to do is you really want to understand that. And so now you leverage both the review content for that as opposed to a 1 through 10. And you can really actually trend over time how things are developing and how you are. Did we actually fix the root issue, or did we cause a new one? Great. We've made it more clear on our website that standard shipping is 5 days. So now we have fewer shipping complaints, but are people not using our shipping service anymore? because it's more clear. And how do we solve that problem now? So, yeah. But
We can see S19 as a competitor, and do you have an option with Trustpilot, the system?
yes.
Is it also a way to kind of put a way for somebody who's a bad review, their way to come in and kind of respond and analyze?
Absolutely, yeah. There's, I didn't catch the name of the company you said. Ask, okay, yeah. You familiar with them? Yeah, no.
I've heard of them. We don't use them.
Yeah, I'm personally not familiar with them. But absolutely, there's a response. And again, the great thing is, as an open platform, it's transparency. That response is posted publicly. So, we're not Zendesk where you go back and forth solving tickets. But, we are a place where a consumer leaves a review, you have the opportunity to reply, you have the opportunity to reach out on your own internal channels, talk to them about what happened, and then, ask them to update that review to reflect what the end result was. Or if they're just stubborn, hey, we've worked with this customer, we've tried to resolve their issue, unfortunately we'll have to agree to disagree. And that's where your social defense team comes into play usually, for the larger organizations that have people that are responding to Twitter and things like that. I don't know, you guys do much with like the social defense space?
Yeah, I mean, aside from the closed, I guess, back and forth between a customer, which happens through like review platforms, in social, once it hits social, it becomes like a dumpster fire of someone just raising hell, and then you have customer service people trying to fix it. Hey, we've already emailed you and PM'd you, and here's the 1-800 number. Did you call? And they keep coming back, and so after a while of customer service hitting them within a few minutes every time, everyone else comes to the rescue and goes, hey, this guy's a troll, or this lady's a troll, or whatever. So that tends to police itself if you have a very engaged audience, unless it was something just crazy and inflammatory,
Yeah.
and you blew up someone's house or something. But for the most part, I think that's probably how it should work with the one-on-one kind of private message that you guys have. But the cool thing is when you turn someone around and they go back and change the review, that's an awesome story, one for you guys, but awesome story for your brand.
Yeah.
Because you can go in and say, hey, here's what happened. Hey, a couple's our bad. We messed up here. We talked to Janice. She was awesome. We fixed it. And now we know as part of our delivery service, we're not going to do that anymore. And high fives. And that's awesome.
Yeah, it's really cool. So I'm getting the from off stage. Any other pressing questions before we? Yeah, go ahead. Sorry. Yeah, no, yeah, we've got even we've had for years we've been leveraging AI in terms of detecting that, and when people leave reviews, or when people are buying fake reviews on from a competitor is one of the typical scenarios where someone will pay $100 to have somebody in the Philippines just flood a page, and we have got all sorts of tools in there to aid to detect that and to take them away. And then B, like, you can think of instances. We had a company whose CEO on his Facebook page said, "Oh, I buy advertising on this channel because those consumers are dumb."
Oh, good.
Okay?
Good stuff.
Maybe not exactly what you want to say. And sure enough, their profile page on Trustpilot just got slammed. Well, we had tools in place that caught that stopped that, and then we've got tools in place that allow companies to go back to those people and say, "Hey, you left a review about us. Did you actually work with us, or did you just read an article in the newspaper?" And oh, you didn't. You don't have a receipt. You never called us. You never worked with us. Great. We got to take that review down. That's not a legitimate interaction. That's not a legitimate service experience. So absolutely, we've got tools in place to detect that, from the scalable artificial intelligence to reporting, and then frankly from the community themselves self-policing. When you see a page with 20 reviews and they're 3, 4, 5 stars, then you get this 1-star review sticking out. As humans, we just conceptually understand that that's not right. So there's also the psychological aspect of that. Cool. Yep. Yep, exactly. Yeah, exactly. We move them around. We've got global companies, like Groupon, who use us, And consistently, they're leaving reviews on different pages, and we're moving around, to your point. You know, where they should be on a different page, they should be flagged, and hey, did you mean to leave that for Groupon UK or Groupon US? And consumers work with us. Cool. Any closing thoughts, Francis?
That's it.
That's
this
it?
is fun, man. Thanks.
Cool. Thank you all for making this interactive and having fun.
Right on.